up link. Click the link you receive, which will direct you to the Superbet mobile site. Click login. On the pop-up, click register now. Fill in the required details on the form, from your ID number all the way to your contact details. Be sure to choose a strong password that you will remember. After filling in your details, click submit. In a few minutes, you should receive an OTP if your details were entered correctly. Back onto the Superbet mobile site, type in your OTP. In a few seconds, you will receive a welcome SMS confirming your new account. A 50 Rand sign-up bonus will reflect in your account within 24 hours of your sign-up. Welcome to our family. Superbet, bet with the biggest.
You are watching Supa TV, Open View, Channel 150.
Hello and welcome to Mo Sports. Well, my name is Mo and this is Mr. OB.KNOWS, the sports analyst, the in-house sports analyst here on Mo Sports. Now, if you're tuning in through your Open View decoder, meaning that you're on channel 150, it's easy for you to watch Mo Sports. But if you don't have the luxury of having an Open View decoder, all you need to do is go on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and just search for Supa TV and you can stream us on those platforms. But today, we don't want to waste any time because a lot of things that we need to go through, club by club, country by country, continent by continent. So let's start off with the Mo riddle and see just how well you know your football. This one is for the Man City faithful. Let's see if you guys know your club that well, because you know everybody says Man City fans are quite young. So let's see if they know their football quite that well.
That's the question.
Yeah, let's see. It says, my career took off at Fiorentina where I won my first Montenegrin Footballer of the Year award. A few seasons later, I signed for Manchester City. Then I went out on loan to Inter Milan. That became a permanent deal. And now I'm plying my trade in France with AS Monaco. So if you know who he is, the number is 071-6214-746. And stay tuned till the bottom of the hour so we can see if your answer was correct or if you were one of the people that were incorrect. And don't forget to SMS Supa TV to 30978 and join in on all the fun. Obi knows, what should the people expect on today's show?
Well, on today's show, we'll be giving you guys an update of what's going on in not all the clubs, but some of the big clubs in the PSL, what they've been up to during the transfer break or the transfer window, which has already kicked off. We'll also be talking about the Euro 2020 final, which is happening tomorrow. And today as well, we witnessed already the third place playoff, the third place going in the Copa America, going to the one and only Colombia. So we'll be talking about that in Copa America and debunking the final and what to expect. But we kick it off first with what's been going on in terms of the PSL clubs. And the first club we're looking at is Kaizer Chiefs. And for obvious reasons, of course, Kaizer Chiefs going through a bit of a structural change, not only on the field, but also in the back room. We found out last week that they announced Keza Motaung Jr. as their sporting director. And just yesterday, they made an announcement of some new signings in the club. Now, the names that have been introduced or announced by the club are as follows. They've got Brendan Peterson, former Bidvest goalkeeper, coming in there at Kaizer Chiefs to kind of add more numbers to the goalkeeping department, which currently sits at 5 goalkeepers with Brendan Peterson added in there. They've also got Gaugelo Sekgota, who's coming in from Morocco Swallows or Swallows FC. Also, Sfiso Tlanti coming in as well. Remember, he was supposed to join the club last season, but because of the transfer ban, he had to go elsewhere to go and play for the remainder of last season. So he finally joins up in Kaizer Chiefs along with Patuchedzo Nange, who is in the pretty much the same situation as Sfiso Tlanti, was meant to join the club earlier on this season, but but because the team had a transfer ban, he had to go to Stellenbosch for a season and he ran it out. So he's back at Kaizer Chiefs training with the team already. We're also talking about Njabulo Ngobo, who is a centre back of note. I mean, he's the current reigning PSL centre back of the season, and he joins Kaizer Chiefs off the back of a brilliant season with Morocco Swallows in the PSL. So he joins the club to add more defensive structure in there as well. And we're also talking about one and only Patricia Nagor, we've spoken about them, and Given Tibedi, who was on loan at Swallows FC during last season. So these are all the players that are joining up at Kaizer Chiefs, and obviously the question now beckons is, are these players the players that Stuart Baxter wanted, or are some of these players, of course, the players that Kevin Hunt had wanted before he left the club? I mean, it looked like, for me, they've spoken quite a lot about Patricia Zonange coming in, Brandon Peterson. Some of these players are players that Kevin Hunt has already played with at Bidvest. So the question does beg in, are these the players that Stuart Baxter was looking for, or are these Kevin Hunt's players, and how are they going to go forward into the remainder of the transfer window? Are they going to be looking for more talents, maybe to suit what Stuart Baxter is going to try to do at Kaizer Chiefs? We don't know as yet, but that is how we stand so far.
All right, so now let's move on to Mamelodi Sundowns. OB.KNOWS, what can you tell us about what's been happening at Lorco?
Well, in Lorco, once again, signings have been announced. 4 signings were announced yesterday. And, the first and foremost, the big signing, because he's coming all the way from Europe. We're talking about Pavel Safarenko, who's the striker coming from Slovenia. But before we go on to his stats, Kranke Kana joins as well, coming from Super Sport United. A surprise inclusion, if you ask me. And they've got Lungu coming in, Divine Lungu coming in from Golden Arrows, a left back, to add more into that left back position for them as well. And one more name that they also added in there is Neo Maema from Bloemfontein Celtic coming in as well in there. He was an attacking midfielder at Bloemfontein Celtic. I don't know why they feel like they needed to bring in Neo Maema, but it is a very good signing for Mamelodi Sundowns. Whether he'll be used, it's a question that we'll wait to see and wait to see if it will be answered by next season. But those are the names that have currently made way to Lorco.
So you talked about Pavel's statistics. Let's see. How is he been performing outside of South Africa?
I'm really surprised that they actually went for him, because looking at his stats, which will come up in a few, this is last season's stat. In fact, instead of 5, it's actually 35 games. He played 35 games, scored 9 goals, and got 6 assists last season. And look, it's one of those players when you're looking at them and you're asking yourself, what was Sundowns looking for in this player? We haven't really seen much of him. I have not even seen preview videos on YouTube of this guy and what he can do as yet. But I can assure that the Mamelodi Sundowns went out to look for this player. And if they are feeling like he's a proper match for them, then possibly we'll have to wait and see what he can give Mamelodi Sundowns come next season. But that is the signing that they've made so far.
You don't believe he was a quality signing?
Well, looking at the numbers, I mean, I always say that the numbers don't give you a full story of what the player is doing. Maybe he's a striker that likes to drop into the midfield. You know, we've seen Sundowns how they play. They try so much to bombard that midfield. You know, they have more numbers in the midfield. So maybe he's one of those strikers like a Bobby Firmino who just drops in. Links the play in there for the other front 2 players. So we'll have to wait and see how he plays and if he fits into the Mamelodi Sundowns team.
All right, don't forget, if you want to join in on the conversation, the number is 071-621-4746. We'll be looking at the WhatsApp messages at the bottom of the hour, see what you have to say about what OB.KNOWS just said. Do you agree with them? Maybe this signing was not the right signing for Mamelodi Sundowns. Maybe you think that Mamelodi Sundowns have a long history of bringing players in from abroad, and this will be another success. But let's move on and talk about Orlando Pirates. For the first time in a while, we don't need to mention Zimbabwe. Hopefully. Let's hear. What do you have to say about Orlando Pirates at this moment in time?
Well, we can't even mention Zimbabwe, but what you can say that we're going to mention Zimbabwe in a good light for the first time. You know, I mean, yes, he will be staying at the club. I mean, it seems very evident that, he will be staying. I actually saw some reports coming from some of the online tabloids saying that they couldn't afford to bring in Steve Kompela, and I'm like, Pirates couldn't afford,
But wait, hold on. You have to remember that he's at Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah.
His paycheck might be a Range Rover and a couple M4s. You don't know. You don't know at this point in time. I mean, it's Sundowns.
I guess so.
It's Sundowns. I mean, even if they took Pito's salary and cut it into 3, you know what I'm saying? When he left, like, okay, Pito, you can leave. Let's cut the salary into 3. It's still one hell of a salary. So maybe that's why Orlando Pirates like, rather pay this German. Fix your things. Then.
Yeah, well, they're keeping the German at the helm for come next season. He'll be still the coach, So they've brought in a couple of signings. So yesterday we already spoke about Kwanda Ngwenyama, who was also one of the players who were revealed a couple of days ago. But along with him came in a Goodman Mosel, who had a brilliant season down at Baroka FC past season. You've got Bandi Leshandu coming in as well. And the last name is Munnapule Saleng, who's coming in at the Pirates base there. But the question, of course, is how are all these players going to fit in? Already Pirates have a stockpile of players on the bench. They've got players out on loan. So it's a big question of, are these teams... I like with Sundowns, I don't think that they needed to bring in some of the players that they've brought in. But, they may be trying to bolster, around the 11 that they have. But how many players do they have around that 11, So it's a big question mark, but let's have to wait and see what happens come next season with these players.
All right, so Pito Musimani did come out to say in an article that all the clubs around Mamelodi Sundowns are signing the wrong players. I mean, maybe they're not signing, the players are not wrong, but the quality, maybe the style of play at the club, it does not match what these teams are doing. And he's saying that next season, he believes that his side, former side, Mamelodi Sundowns, will continue to be the champions once again, making it 3 out of 3 since the last time she's challenged to get it. So, OB.KNOWS, let us continue. Let's talk about what's happening in Celtic. What's Alago Blomo? What's Alago Blomo?
Blomo is bad, man. It's not looking all too good at this present moment. I mean, I just spoke about Neo Maema, who just left the Bloemfontein Celtic, and it's unfortunate because at this point, Celtic are letting go of players, but they won't be able to make any purchases come next season because of the fact that they are going through what Kazichis went through last season, a transfer ban, a 2 transfer window ban, So this comes at the back of, the disagreement between Bloemfontein Celtic and Patrick Tinyam, the former goalkeeper of the club. I mean, he left the club after there was a dispute around the prize, the bonus money that was supposed to receive. And some of course, we did say that, at Bloemfontein Celtic, players have not been paid for a couple of months running towards the end of last year, So players went for quite some time unhappy at the club. Patrick Tinyam made it very evident to the management that he was not happy at the team, and he left the club with 2 years left on his contract. Went to join Supa United. Things didn't go all too well for him there either, but he managed to drag Bloemfontein Celtic to FIFA. Later complaint against the club, and of course now the transfer ban has been put on Bloemfontein Celtic. And the SAFA CEO actually at Tebogo Motlanthe came out and he said he's the one who actually said that the ban is being put up. And we have a comment from him. He says the Celtic have not paid, so the ban kicks in. It must go via the PSL, who will announce it. Remember, even with Chiefs, the matter, it was done through the PSL because we have sent the letter to the league. So SAFA have been in contact with FIFA. FIFA replied to them, letting them know that Bloemfontein Celtic should be undergoing a transfer ban. SAFA is currently communicating with the PSL, and the PSL will later announce the fact that Bloemfontein Celtic won't be participating in the transfer window.
But it's not all doom and gloom, OB.KNOWS. I mean, Ambro staying with Ambro just announced that they're staying with Bloem Celtic. So
I guess
there's something to smile about. At least technical support from Ambro. Come on, bro.
At least the businesses are seeing the positive in the side. But still, the players, I've been saying that Bloemfontein Celtic is not a matter of quality with the players. The players are there. They play very well. The football in Bloemfontein, I've said it for the past last season. I said that Celtic play one of the most attractive football in South Africa. But because the players are not happy at the club, it's very hard for them to perform at the top of the level every week in and week out. So I understand, where Celtic are currently, where the players are currently mentally. Not everyone is happy with being pretty much exploited. Although Celtic did sort out, their money issues come towards the end of last season. Still, it's still a big thing that's going to impact the team, and we have to wait and see how the players are going to keep up this come next season.
All right. So the chairman of the club, this Bloemfontein Celtic, Mr. Max Chabalala, he came out to say that to us, this relationship is now beyond technical support. He's talking about their relationship with Ambro. He says, it is what we regard a real partnership, and we are honored to call Ambro South Africa our fraternity brothers. So basically, they're quite happy with this relationship at this moment in time. But let's move on to CAF. Let's go talk about what's happening in the continent of Africa when it comes to continental competition. All right, we'll talk about the Confederations Cup first and foremost before we go. We'll talk about the final of the Champions League. I mean, the South Africans might be more interested in what's happening in the Champions League than the Confederations Cup, but you cannot undermine this competition. It's a competition where Orlando Pirates were also active. But OB.KNOWS, let's talk about Raja Casablanca.
Yeah, look, Raja. I think, like I did say at the beginning of the CAF competition, that I thought Raja, were the better side throughout the competition. I did say that Orlando Pirates were up against a team that for me were obviously the favorites from the get-go. Raja is that team that usually plays they find themselves playing in Champions League football week in and week out. But last season was a bit different. But Khan, of course, their season was cut short. But Khan finished in the third place position, and that meant that they can go and participate in the CAF in the CAF Champions League, and later on winning the CAF the CAF Confed, which led to them playing in the Super League. But with Raja Casablanca, it's just a formality. I think this game. I mean, they're coming up against Kabila team, which for me has not been a team that has been prominent in terms of Champions League football. I mean, in terms of CAF football, the last time they were in a final was in 2002, and a CAF final was in 2002. So it's a team that is seeking for some of its previous long lost glory days. So but I do think that Raja Casablanca are a team that should be reckoned.
So join me as we go to the website right now. There's a couple of things I want to check out in terms of the stats when it comes to this fixture, because I want to talk about the form of these two clubs, but I can only do that if I go to the website, and that means you have to SMS Super TV to 30978. Join me. Let's go see what's happening there. So when we arrive, let's go to match info. Then let's go straight to the statistics. Same time. You have to say twice before you say statistics. Let's go to soccer. Let's go to international clubs. Ooh, OB.KNOWS. It's not the Europe way. He's already going for the Euro stats. Let's go. CAF Champions League, OB.KNOWS. Confederations Cup. That was my bad. Now, let's click on this head-to-head between the two teams. Obviously, by clicking on that, we're going to get the match details, which is going to show us the events of the fixture. Okay, there we go. So as we can see, these teams have not met much since the year 2019. They've only met twice, with one win going to Raja Casablanca and one draw, with Kabile not even picking up a single win. But what frustrates me with this setup right now is the form of Raja Casablanca, because I hear what OB.KNOWS is saying, but look at Raja Casablanca's last 4 games. Now, click on that win, OB.KNOWS, that win, that W there. The second win, just before that one loss. That game went down to penalties, and they won it 5-4 on penalties. That was a game against Pyramids. And everywhere else, they're coming into this game on the back of 2 losses and a draw. And the one win that they have out of the 2 wins they got out of the last 6 is a draw. So literally this form is not looking anywhere close to positive at this point in time. Their last 4 games, 2 draws, 2 losses, and only the 1 win in their last 6. But if we go on the other side, Kabila at this moment in time are having a better run to their finals. Those back-to-back wins there are back-to-back wins against Cotton Sports. So there's a 2-1 win against Cotton Sports, and then they beat Cotton Sport, another 3-0 win. But looking at that, they were disrupted by the 1 loss, but that's the only loss out of their last 6 games. So they're looking like a better outfit coming into this game. And let's put the website down, OB.KNOWS. With that in mind, do you think that we should give them more of a chance in this final?
Definitely. when you get to a final, you got there for a reason. You're there for a reason, and you want to play to the best of your ability. So I do think that it would be very unfair for us not to give them a chance at all. So I have to wait and see what happens in terms of Kabil, but I still do think that Raja Casablanca, in this competition, they are the much better side.
All right, only one way to find out, so make sure you stay tuned here on Super TV to find out what happens tomorrow when we give you the results and we give you our analysis. But thank you for joining us. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
You're locked into Super TV, only on OpenView, channel 150.
CC. Why so jealous? Just SMS Super TV to 30978 and get lucky yourself.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette.
You are watching Super TV, OpenView, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports. If you're just joining us, we've been talking all things local football. We talked about what's happening with our local clubs here in South Africa. We talked about the continental competition, and we also went down and we were about to talk about the Euros. Now, let me give you the Mo riddle before we get ahead of ourselves and start talking football and forget that there's a riddle that we need to handle. So this is the riddle for today. It talks about a striker. I'm going to give you his position. I'm giving you more clues. He's a striker. He played for Manchester City, and he was not the most prominent of strikers. He wore a jersey in the 30s, like a lot of Man City strikers. If you know who he is, the number is 071-621-4746. And don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978. So now, let's carry on with the chat. I mean, right now, the question is it going home or is it going to Rome? Everybody around the world, I'm talking from Zimbabwe to Malawi, from Malawi to Malaysia, from Malaysia to Singapore, everybody's saying, let it go to Rome, don't let it go home. 55 years. 55 years, how long? How long that England had to wait?
Just
55 years. That's half a century. And don't forget, everywhere else they've done well. I mean, the rugby did well. They were in the semi-finals of the Web Ellis Cup with Ning Ning. But when it comes to the football, the sport that they invented, it's not working. It's not langani.
That's what the Scottish people will tell you, that they might have invented football. We taught them how to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what the Scottish
And
will
then
say.
Brazil says we refined the sport.
Yeah, they did. They really did. I
Yeah.
mean, look at how many players they have around the world. But
We'll talk about
we'll
that.
get that.
We'll talk about
we'll get to that bit later. But you know what? England, as you say, I feel like they. Someone was saying that pound for pound, they have the better squad coming into
Okay,
this
wait,
final.
hold on. Before I let you carry on with that, I just wanna draw a line real quick. Just draw a line. In football right now, we have celebrity footballers, which is something that was not there in the early days of football.
We have what?
Celebrity footballers.
Oh, right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like media boys. Like, you know what I mean? The boys who are, when we mention his name, is a household name. And that for a lot of people that don't watch football makes them quality players, which is not always the case, you know what I mean? And looking at these two sides, that's why I'm like, before you continue, please take into consideration the fact that some of these players that they're saying are, are household names.
Okay.
So is it the household name that makes them a quality player, or is it what they have achieved on the pitch that makes them a quality player?
Well, I would say it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both, really. I mean, I cannot stand here and say with a straight face that England have a poor player in that squad. I mean, maybe the ones that aren't even playing, it's very hard for you to not even to point out, which player should not even be playing, So it's a very good squad that England have, and so I wouldn't say that, in fact, they do have better players. I mean, if you take into consideration the 11, pound for pound, the 11 that they have, the squad depth they have, England have the much better squad in all, in general, they have the much better squad. But in terms of, mentally and being in a cup final, being in the position where they are, the lack of experience within the squad, they only have, like we said yesterday, Jordan Henderson is pretty much the only player in the past 3 seasons who has won a trophy, in this team. So, it begs a lot of questions, but the question will obviously be, there would be a lot of more questions if they didn't win this game. It's just because they're playing at home, it's all for them. If they lose it at home, it's a big question mark on England.
I think the biggest failure would be the fact that this tournament looks like it was designed for England to win it.
And that's
at the end of the day,
exactly
that's the
what
problem.
saying,
I mean, if they were to fail at winning this tournament, it would be at their own design, because they played most of the games at home in the group stages. They went on and played only one game away from home with Rome, and then they're coming back to the final, just playing at Wembley, where they're unbeaten in their own backyard, with the fans now being allowed to come back and watch the game. It might be a few fans, but at the end of the day, it's still English fans. I mean, you're still English fans. You're talking about Liverpool fans, Man City, all those fans are the largest fans in world football at the end of the day. But my thing is, OB knows, pound for pound, yes, we can give it to them. But the question has been, the dilemma that they have is who is going to start this game. But before we get into that, let's talk about it's diving home.
It's a tweet.
Is it diving home?
It's because it's a tweet, coming from an Italian media guy. It's a Tancredi Palmieri, and he's saying it's diving home. That's what he's saying, and of course he's talking about the fact that that penalty that Raheem Sterling was awarded in that game against Denmark, which eventually made sure that they get into the finals. Now the question obviously is with VAR, how did VAR not see that it was a dive first, and secondly, how are England fans saying it with a straight face and being so rejoiceful? I mean, we heard Jamie Carragher as well saying that, for the fact that, England, the diving, he doesn't have a problem with it. But if it was someone from another country or a Man United player, for example, they are being said that they're cheaters, So, of course, now, it's all, like I've been saying, the English media is very, it's very influential in how, football minds think, because they are watched all over the world.
But
yeah,
it begs the question, because we know when you study journalism, there's a thing they say, whoever pays the piper chooses the tune, right? So at the end of the day, who's paying the piper? Because it's the English media, it's their national side. Half these guys played for that national side. It's hard for you to get Gary Lineker, Rio Ferdinand, all those guys to be, you know what, I'm going to be objective, I'm going to be subjective, I'm just going to stand from outside, watch it as if it's not my country, it's not my 3 lions, it's not the jersey I wore, it's not the country I died for on the pitch. It's going to be very hard, Also, we are the neutral party here. That's why we can come here on air and say, it's not going home. For them, it has to go home because they're watching it as fans. They're watching it as patriots. It'd be very sad if the English media came out themselves and said, "Look, Italy have a quality side. Italy have a quality coach." It would be very wrong. I mean, if you look at the coach by coach. I mean, if you looked at their 2 CVs, I mean, the Italian coach has a better CV than the English coach. You look at the goalkeepers. This is the goalkeeping department. Donnarumma, you know what I'm saying? You look at your Panucci's, your Harry Maguire's, you look at your Chiellini's, your John Stones. I mean, the names around the pitch, yes, okay. According to English media, according to what's happening in the world of football, these are the bigger names. They're playing in the biggest league in the world. But looking around the world, Italian players are playing in other leagues and they're doing well. I mean, you have Verratti's in France and all that stuff. But if you look at the English players, only 2 players came out from outside the country. And now that Sancho's moved, only 1 player, knows.
Yeah, but that's always been the English way of doing things. We all know that, England prefers to have players playing for the national team who are playing in the Premier League, and that's just how it's been over the years. And, we can even single out a couple of players from the past few years who have, managed to bridge that gap of playing overseas and, being able to play for England. There's not a lot of players. And in fact, Calvin Phillips was most recently the player who didn't play in the EPL, but was playing rather in the 2nd division of English football. And was the first player to ever do that, So England pride themselves with this league of theirs. And of course, we are saying it's the best league in the world because we also watch it. And to be fair, it is pretty much the most entertaining league in the world. But is it the best in terms of, providing players for the national team? That's the big question, because you look at the top players in these leagues and they're players from other countries, So the question will remain on whether, the English national team have the top class quality which they are saying that they have.
Okay, before I talk to you about the players that are English that are playing abroad outside of England, let's talk about Chiellini. What has he been saying to the media?
Of course, he's saying the same thing that you've been saying. He's saying that England really had, the way to the final. And he says they reached the semi-final at the World Cup. Plus, it was predictable England would be in the final of the Euros as they played 6 out of 7 games on home turf. And he's pretty much correct. He's pretty much correct. England played literally the majority of this final, of these Euro finals at, Wembley. So it was very inevitable for them, to lose some games, especially looking at the run that they had towards the final. It would have been disappointing for them to not even get there, So I think, this time around, with the tournament, of course, having to be played in different areas around Europe, it just in some way landed in the advantage of England. I don't know how it became, so easy for them to decide that England has to play most of their games at Wembley, and the semi-finals and the finals we played at Wembley. I don't know how they came to that consensus that this should be how it should be, because a lot of players are complaining about it. And, the question would be as well, why are these players only complaining when they're out of the tournament? Luckily, Chiellini is still in the tournament, so he has something to say. But the question will obviously be as well, how was it allowed to kick off in the first place if no one was okay with the way it was structured?
Yeah. But let's do this real quick. Let's talk about me and OB's players of the tournament. My 3 picks are the following players. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked. A lot of people are going to be like, Mo is on some other things. But these are my 3 picks. Now, Jordan Pickford, for the fact that he came into this tournament and out of all the goalkeepers on display, it was one of the most underrated goalkeepers. I didn't think this man would be in the final. I thought maybe your Hugo Lloris's, your other goalkeepers. But this man, for me, has performed quite well in the amount of clean sheets he's been able to keep. And then the impact that Christian Eriksen just had on the tournament. His impact as a player from the first game till now, he's even been invited to the finals just to make an appearances. I feel like they should just go to him, just courtesy to say what an eventful tournament it's been, thanks to what happened. And as you can see, Patrick Schick, that one without a doubt, I'm putting that boy in there just for kicks. I thought about, like, who can I put in there for kicks? That is my player. I'm putting him in there just for kicks.
But pick forward, boy.
Pick forward, boy. Pick forward, boy. Like, that is the underdog of note, that one. Like, no one saw him coming. No one saw him going to the final. Pickford. Jordan Pickford. And on top of that, no one actually, think about it. Dean Henderson is in that bench. A lot of people. If this tournament had not kicked off, when you look at the squad list alone, Pickford was on the bench. It was Dean Henderson all the way.
I'd beg to differ. I'd say Sam Johnston had a much better, season than all those goalkeepers.
But at the end of the day, it's not Pickford you would have selected to go into the squad.
Yeah, of course, but it's Gareth Southgate, and I did say that this is his favorite pick, and I did say at the beginning of the tournament when we had the discussion about who should be, starting for they had 4 goalkeepers at the time. And I said that, I would have put in Sam Johnston because of the season he's had at West Brom, but simply because it's, Southgate.
But he got to the
definitely. Look, Mo, we have to thank the defense for making sure that, Pickford doesn't have too much to do.
Okay,
I mean, he pulled off some very good saves.
Before you hit another nerve.
Wait, let's see your 3. Last segment. Last bit. I'm gonna get there.
Let's see your 3.
You don't have confidence, my guy, when you're playing behind. When you're playing as a defender, you know who's behind. You can't pass him back the ball. You know he might kick it close by central. There's so much that needs to be fixed with Pickford's game. And my problem with Pickford is that he's been a great goalkeeper for the longest time.
Yeah.
But he has not improved from being just a great goalkeeper. For me, he's been subpar the whole time. He's been good since Sunderland. He was brilliant at Sunderland. He joined Everton. He looked very good at the time. But for me, he just hasn't improved. And that is my biggest problem with Jordan Pickford.
All right, let's talk about your 3 OB-KNOWS. We only have a minute, so let's see. Who did OB-KNOWS pick in his 3?
My 3, there we go. Raheem Sterling is in there. Giorgio Chiellini is in there. And Lorenzo Insigne for me, right? And Raheem Sterling, why? They've reached the final. And had it not been for Raheem Sterling, England would not be here because the first 3 games, if you remember, England scored just 3 goals in those first 3. I mean, they only scored 2 games in those first 3 games, and both goals were coming from Raheem Sterling. I think he has been a very, very important role for them going forward. And for them to be here as well is partially, due to his performances. I think he's been very consistent. Chiellini defensively has been brilliant for Italy, and we could see when he was not in that back line. Acerbi wasn't the best replacement for him, but of course, maybe with more years to come, Bastoni will also fit into that centre back position. But this man has been a workhorse for this team despite his pace. And Lorenzo Insigne, I feel like he's giving England that. I mean, not England rather, but Italy that outlet on the left-hand side. And he's been very brilliant coming off the left and cutting into the right. I feel like if there was anyone else besides him, it would be Chiesa. I mean, he's been very influential with the small amount of time he's been in there. He's been very, very good for Italy. So those are my 3 picks for player of the tournament.
All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we will then continue the conversation about what's happening in South America with the Copa America. See you after this.
You're locked into Supa TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
are watching Supa TV, OpenView, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports. Now, if you're just joining us, you missed out on the chat about the Euros, and we talked about the finals. We talked about if it's coming home, is it diving home, or is it going to Rome? Welcome back to the show. My name is Mo, and I'm joined by Mr. OB.KNOWS, who is our in-house sports analyst, and we're talking all things football. Let me remind you of the Mo riddle before we continue. And then once I've shown you the riddle, then we'll look at the WhatsApp answers that we've received and see who knows their football well enough to know who this player is exactly. So the Mo riddle today speaks about a player who's Montenegrin, because he received Montenegrin Player of the Year while he was playing at Fiorentina. That was the first time he received the award. He has 2 awards throughout his career. If you know who he is, the number is 071-621-4746. Man City fans, I expect you to remember who this man is. He left on loan to go to Inter and he came back. He actually didn't come back. He went to Inter and never came back. So let's see if some of you have the right answer. Don't forget to SMS Supa TV to 30978. So is there an answer for us? Does anyone know who it is? It's Mario Balotelli, or it's either Emmanuel Adebayor, OB_ from Northtown. So Olego baking one day to go to Loma Fiki. No, Mama Houting. That's the thing. Yeah, that one is the original.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't speak me like that.
I'm kidding. Let us continue. Let's talk about Colombia. You did say Colombia were crowned 3rd place finishers in the Copa America. How did they achieve that, and were we surprised? Do you think they were the better side in that playoff?
Look, it was a tough game. It was a very, very tough game. End-to-end action between themselves and Peru. If you do remember, I did say yesterday that Peru actually the semi-final, they were finalists last Copa America. So I think they are that team that we have been overlooking in terms of this competition. But I think for the fact that they finished in 3rd place this time, in 4th place, it's not a bad finish for Peru. But looking at Colombia, I did say that they needed more creativity in their midfield. So the goals actually coming from a player, Luis Diaz, that's his name, coming off the flank. In fact, if Liverpool are looking for a player, this would be a perfect player to be looking at because of the way he comes off the flank, the way he takes his first touch, going inside, going in front of the defender, and his finishing as well was very brilliant. I think he had a brilliant game, and as you can see, that he plays for FC Porto currently, and he had a magnificent game. If you go back to the highlights, you'll actually see that he really ran the races against Peru last night.
The saddest thing is that now football has moved away from tournament excellence. If you think about how tournaments have affected players throughout the years, back in the early 2010s, a player would perform exceptionally at a tournament and then you'd get signed immediately. James Rodriguez, what he did in the was it the World Cup?
Yeah.
It was in Brazil, the World Cup.
Yeah.
What he did in the World Cup earned him a move to Real Madrid. You're talking about a man, Zukic, who got a move to Bayern Munich after he performed exceptionally well. Joe Allen moved to Stoke City after he performed exceptionally well. Liverpool we can make money from this player. It's always been a thing. Once the summer tournaments come around, a player does perform exceptionally well and then he gets picked up. But they were asking a couple of scouting agents and they were saying, look, if a player performs exceptionally well at a tournament, do you guys now jump out your pocketbooks to go sign him? And it's exactly what you said. They said, no, we don't. If a player performs well at a tournament, there is no way we don't have data on him from the moment he was 16. We should expect for him to perform like that. And if any player is outperforming what we expect him to do, we look at the data. So now players are being signed over seasons, not even over tournaments anymore. 7 games are not enough for clubs to judge anymore. It's more of a prolonged.
Let's see what you've done. Yeah, I did say about Patrick Schick that before this tournament, we're looking at his career. He had a failed stint at Roma. Didn't do all too well there, and he went to RB Leipzig, not looking all too good there. In fact, even Crystal Palace wanted him at some point, because they usually play with the big strikers. So I did say that he hasn't been all too great. The potential he had coming, he's still very young, but the potential he had coming up, it showed us that he would be much better than what he is now. The performance at the tournament was brilliant, but for that to warrant him a move, I think teams would be making a big mistake. Just give him another season at the current club he is. Let's see if he picks up his game at club level, and then maybe we can be looking to sign him.
All right, so let's talk about the players that basically at this point made up this Brazilian squad, because now we're going to talk about Brazil versus Argentina. So talk to me first about the final. Who do you think is going to take it? Is it going home with Messi, or what should we say? Is it going to Sao Paulo?
I think it's definitely going to staying in Brazil. I think the squad that Brazil have, I did say that it's well balanced. It's very well balanced from the goalkeeper department to the defense to the midfield to the attackers. It's a well balanced squad, and for them to lose it this time around, especially for them to be playing at home at the Maracanã, it would be a very, very big disappointment, and to lose it to Argentina, their biggest South American rival. It would be very disappointing for Brazil to lose it at home. It would be very disappointing for them to lose out on that.
So I made a squad because no one believes in my potential as a manager, so I had to go out and make a manager's decision. Who would I take with me to this tournament? Who would I leave out?
Yeah.
And let's start off with the players that I basically kicked out of the squad, because as far as I'm concerned, with the goalkeepers, I tried my best to kick Everton out. I tried.
But
I tried.
who are these goalkeepers? Let's take a look at the website.
Okay, let's go to the website. Let's go see what's happening there in terms of the squads. Don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978 if you also want to join us on the website. But OB knows, I tried. Because I looked, Ellison is an international goalkeeper. You're looking at Edison is also an international goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And then the third goalkeeper, what's his name?
It's Everton.
Yeah, so let's scroll up. Let's go to, let's go down. Let's go to internationals. Let us go to find... there it is, Copa America. And then click on Brazil. Then go to teams and just click on Brazil, because I know that this man he wants to argue with me about the facts, but I
don't
can't.
want to argue.
Yeah, let's scroll down.
I
So
just want you to show.
first thing with the goalkeeper now, this guy, Weverton. This dude kept the most clean sheets last season, only conceding over, I think, 20 goals and making over 35 appearances, which was quite exceptional. I actually had the numbers, but he was the only goalkeeper who made above 20 appearances and only conceded less goals than he had appearances. Most of the goalkeepers in the league had just conceded for days. And then in terms of the midfield, in terms of the defense, I was going to leave it the same. No one kicked out. Lodi's in there as well. No one has been left out. But the only thing I would add is I wanted to add a defender by the name Ebner. Ebner is playing at a club called Paranense in the Brazilian leagues, and he's still 19 years old, but he played every second of the season at 19 years old. So I thought maybe something special about him. There's something special about him. I mean, he also didn't concede a lot of goals in that time. So I thought that it was a defender that actually needed some light. Because my thought was, let's get some local players. I mean, you already have the star-studded defense that you have. Add a few young players that can start becoming Brazilian players from now. In the midfield, not so much, but I just left out Douglas Luiz, and then I put in two players in favor of him. So I took him out, and I added, actually, did I take him out? Yeah, I did. And then I added a player called Artur.
Is this the same Arturo as at Juventus?
No. Arturo's playing for the Red Bull side in Brazil. They finished second in the league last season. I thought maybe they needed some recognition, so I put in that boy. He's playing next to Igor Gomez. Let me see Igor Gomez's stats. Igor Gomez, also a young player. I actually went for some really young players, but Igor Gomez, he has not been quite a prominent player, but he's the only player in this list that actually came from Sao Paulo, because last season Sao Paulo finished 4th in the league. So he's a player that made it in there. He's made 71 appearances, scored 71 appearances, scored only 6 goals from midfield. So I think maybe he's a good addition to the side. But the ones that I'm very adamant about is the next players I'm about to talk about. Pedro from Flamengo. I think he would have been, okay, first let me tell you about the players I'm leaving out. I couldn't take out Gabriel Barbosa. He was a well-rounded player playing in the local game in Brazil, and he's the 7th top goal scorer in the league. But Everton, Firmino, Neymar, they stayed. Richarlison, Vinicius Jr., and Gabriel Jesus, can put the website down now. Those three, Gabriel Jesus, Vinicius Jr., Richarlison, Puma, out of my squad. I kicked them out.
Gabriel Jesus?
I kicked them out of my squad. Let me explain why. Let's start off with...
Even Vinicius, boy, the future you've been talking about.
Yeah, boy, out with Vinicius, boy. He must be out of there. Let me tell you guys, right? Wait, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I kicked him out. There's a player who's playing in Brazil. His name is Claudinho. Yeah? Claudinho is the top goal scorer from last season in the league. He plays for the Red Bull side. They finished 2nd in the league. Very influential player. And this is how his stats were looking last season. They finished 2nd. He scored majority of the goals. I mean, I'm not quite sure how much he scored in terms of goals. But literally, this guy was a star turn last season. Like, I had to put him in here. Is this even him? Claudinho. Yeah, I put him in because he was the top goal scorer. And then I put in another player called Pedro, who's playing at Flamengo. He's playing next to Gabriel Barbosa, so I thought the chemistry would be too much there. You can't leave that one out.
My thing is, boy, Vinicius, boy, is not that bad.
Dude,
he's really not. Like, he's playing for Real Madrid, my guy. He's playing for Real Madrid. You understand? You understand?
Obi knows.
Boy, this man is supposed to be a Galactico, boy.
Obi knows. Let me tell you about Pedro. I can't tell me about people that are playing for Real Madrid. Let me tell you about Pedro. Pedro, he's been to the most in Brazil, boy. He's even played in the Serie B. And he was there with Flamengo last season when they won the league.
Okay.
Very key player
Very key player is Vinicius as well.
He made 34 appearances, starting 15 starts, Obino.
Boy,
How are you leaving a player for Vinicius Junior?
Boy, Vinicius
Let me be
knocked
honest.
out Liverpool in
Let
the
me
UEFA
be
Champions
honest. Let me be
League.
honest.
Vinicius
Before we take a
knocked
break.
out Liverpool in
Okay,
the
wait, hold on.
Champions
Before we
League.
take a break, let me just say this. The problem with Brazil, right, is that you know what the FIFA international players must play for the national side.
Yeah.
A lot of the players that are making it into these squads are making it into because of the visas, basically. You understand? What about the local players that are making an influence, that are actually pushing what's happening in Brazilian football? And as much as you say Felipe Luis is there, your Dani Alves are there, there's
Barbosa's
players who are
there,
19,
Barbosa's
17,
there as
16.
well.
Boy, there's young players in Brazil who are doing the most.
My boy.
And Pedro, Claudinho.
boy.
Those are players that are doing the most, Obinos.
me
Iago
tell-
Gomez, Obinos. Come on.
Let me tell you, man,
Atur.
these players, that's what you're talking
Ebna.
about. These guys, Bo Ebna, Bo Atur, you'll find them at the Olympics. That's it.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll finish the situation. But all I'm telling you is watch out for those names. This guy.
You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
Lucky Clover, Aces and Faces, 400 Blue Star, 100 Lucky Clover, Bitcoin, 40 Super Hot, 100 Hot Pepper, 100 Mega Hot, Jacks or Better, Keno Fast, Pharaoh, Pirate Gold, 20 Lucky Clover, Blue Star, Cherry Hot, Mega Hot, Lucky Hot, 100 Blue Star, Super Hot, Time Machine, Ice Queen, 7 Hot, Shining Star, 10 or Better, Tesla, Firefighter, Locust Stalker. So many instant games to choose from. It'll take your breath away. Choose your instant game on superbets.co.za. Superbets. Bet with the biggest.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports. Now, if you're just joining us, we've covered most of the international competitions. We talked about the Euro, we talked about the Copa America. We even in depth argued about the players in the Copa America. And Obi knows you were still saying something before we took a break. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to talk about the Mo riddle, and then I'll give you a chance to speak. It's fair. It's fair, isn't it?
What was I saying?
Let's see what the Mo riddle has in store for you today. He is a Montenegrin international. He scored a lot of goals in his career, meaning that he's a striker. He played for Manchester City, Inter Milan, and Fiorentina, just to name a few. If you know who he is, then you definitely have to pick up your phone, save the following number. It's 071-621-4746. Now let's see what some of our viewers have given us in terms of the answer to the Mo riddle. Today's going to be a very interesting one. We went with a non-Brazilian for the first time this weekend. So Mo riddle is Stefan Jovetic, hashtag Bofihla. Let's see if the other person agrees with Bofihla there. Let's see. All right, the Mo riddle answer is Stefan Jovetic. David from Durban. Well, I can't say they're wrong. Are they wrong, Obinos? Can you justify them being wrong?
Yeah, man, justify.
They're amper there. In fact, stay to the end of the show to see if they're right or wrong. But let's talk about the COSAFA Cup, Obinos. What is happening in terms of the results and the fixtures? In fact, before we go to that, tell me, what are you saying about Brazil? What are you saying about my squad? You don't know my squad.
All I say, all I'm saying is some of these players, we even checked the Olympic squad, they're not even there.
Obinos, this man scored 18 goals in the league and won the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
Ahead of Gabriel Barbosa. Ahead of Hulk.
No.
Hulk won the Golden Boot at the Copa Libertadores.
Yeah, now what you're saying to me right now was we're talking about Vinicius. That's where the quarrel was.
Okay, it's
because you
fine.
can't take out Gabriel Barbosa.
We have 3 minutes.
This is like taking Danny Ings and leaving Harry Kane out because Danny Ings scored more goals than
No. We leave Calvert-Lewin out. See, you're not thinking about it.
No, you don't have Bobby, the original striker. You don't have Gabriel Jesus, the original striker. You wanna fuck up?
Talk to me about the Kosovo Cup.
It's tough there.
I got tough.
Bafana have to win this one.
We only have 3 minutes.
I looked at Senegal. Senegal are not looking all too good. They lost their game, the first game. Zambia have the guy there from Cape Town City. His name will come back to me.
Khothazo.
It's not Zambia, boy.
Zambia. In sub-Saharan Africa,
I'm
people
talking about
travel.
Zambia, and I'm just disappointed I forgot his name. Justin Shonga, one of the most brilliant strikers for me in terms of positioning in South Africa. He finds himself in very good positions. Knows how to position himself in the half space. Yeah, this is one of the best strikers you'll find South Africa position himself in the half space. He's that striker. So they're not doing all too bad as well in the Kosovo, but we can go to the website and actually take a look at how it's looking. But I do think that Bafana are looking like the slight favorites.
Certainly, we don't have enough time to go on the website. So what I'm going to do is remind the people to SMS Super TV to 30978. And then what we're going to do, we're going to give them the answer to the more riddle, because me and you need to go sort out the situation with Vinicius Jr. Because we are sala, kids. If this was Copa America now, Mo was the coach. We are sala upoy. We are sala upoy.
But it's fine.
Okay, let's go to the website. Just go show him the Kosovo Cup, because I can hear his cry. Yeah. But we are sala upoy next time. We are sala upoy. Let's go see. Resta boy. Imagine me as the coach calling him in Spain, telling him, resta boy. Sukshile, rest.
Hey, God.
Mshia boy, life. Leave him there with Ben.
Look at us, boy. Look at us, boy.
Right now, guys, this is how we look in the Kosovo Cup. Group A, South Africa is top of the 3. No goals conceded. Let's go to Group B and see what's happening. We're looking for this group, ne? As you can see, this is how a group is supposed to look, South America. You see, only 1 and 2 are qualifying for the next round. The rest are going home. That's how it's supposed to look. Can't just say 4 out of 5 are going to go through. So as you can see at this moment in time, Obino is saying that Zambia are not looking as clean as they appear to be right now. But as you can see, Mozambique, they've played 2 games. They've only drawn 1 and lost 1. And then Malawi has played draw. And Zimbabwe have 2 draws in a row, with Senegal having 1 win and 1 loss. So let's put it away. Namibia top in the group with 3 points. They still to play their second game. So Obino, let's give the people the answer to the Mo riddle and call it a day. So the answer to the Mo riddle is a very simple one. I almost gave you guys Joe from Brazil. You know Joe? Yeah, he's still playing football till this day. So let's talk about this man, Stefan Jovetic. Let's see him right here. That's the answer for the Mo riddle. So those 2 answers were correct. This man, I don't know. Oh, is it me or is this guy all hype?
He was hype.
Yeah.
He was hype. That's why I'm not looking. There's a striker right now at Fiorentina, Vlahovic or something like that. Had a brilliant season. He's about 22 years old. Brilliant with the left foot. I think he just might be a lot of hype. You know, maybe
Another Jovetic.
Yeah, it might just be another Jovetic. And a lot of people have been saying Liverpool should look at signing him. And I'm like,
the thing is with Jovetic, I remember when he went to Man City, I had believed all the hype. I was like, this guy's going to make Man City another level. And then he got there, he couldn't even spend a season. I mean, the next season he was gone out on loan. He didn't play most of these games. He was injured all the time. So it was a waste of time. But thank you for joining us today on Mo Sports. Tomorrow we'll be talking about Ben Davies. The question will be, is he a quality signing, or should Liverpool just sell him without ever making an appearance for the club? Join us tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Make sure you don't miss it.
You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150. In the beginning, there was Super Bets. Then there was Super TV. Your inside edge. Your gaming guide. Your place to play. Super TV. OpenView, channel 150.
So sorry.
But have you never been in a situation like that where you want to slap the waiter like that?
Slapping them sometimes.
It's after they ask you what you want to drink and you tell them, then they leave for a whole day. Then they come back after 2 days to ask.
This situation happened to us when we went to, remember when we went to Four Ways?
I remember. Don't name drop like that, but I remember.
It's not name drop, but
Eish.
it happened.
And that day the scoop was on fire.